Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're going to take a look at the Beretta 21A Bobcat. This was the first pistol I purchased for myself when I turned 21. Back then, the Beretta was all the rage. My father had gotten a 92F a few years before that I salivated over quite a bit and loved to take out shooting. And when I turned 21 and was able to save up enough money in the my side job at the food service industry, I went and purchased myself the Beretta 21A. Now it's a great little pistol. I'm going to check it here real quick to make sure it's unloaded, so you see nothing there. We'll talk about this tip-up lever design in a second, but it's a great little pistol. The 21A is a further development of the Beretta Model 20. And the 21A was specifically, although it was designed in Italy, it was only produced in the U.S. facility back in 1984. I purchased this one in 1994. It came in this great little cardboard box. Still has all the information on there. And I know it was 1994 because I usually have a habit of, and here's the box, came a little warning label in there, and came with the Beretta 21A little owner's manual here. It's very nice. And here's the receipt. I'm going to fold this a bit so everyone does not get all my personal information out of here, but apparently I got it. This one I was in San Antonio at the time, so Don's Gun Sales. And back in May 20th of 1994. May 20th, 94. So yes, I was 21. Getting ready to turn 22. I guess it took me quite a while to save up what was, I guess, $180 some dollars plus tax, 216 and 58 with tax. So not bad, not bad. Probably overcharged me, but it was a great pistol. When I went in there and bought it, I didn't know if I wanted the 22 long rifle or the 25 ACP version, because they make it in both. I was leaning towards the 25. The salesman there talked me out of the 25 and went with the 22. Although I was familiar with the 25 auto and 22 at the time, I guess, I was still relatively young. I didn't know too much about ballistics, and I figured the 25 auto was stronger than the 22. By how much, I don't know. I guess by 3, right? 22, 23, 24, 25. It seemed like it was a more powerful round, but I was told by the salesman that no, that wasn't necessarily true, and the 22 was great. And he was right in many ways. I've learned a lot since then. I'd like to think I've learned a lot since then. And one of the things that makes the 25 ACP version better is that it's a center fire. At least back then, there weren't that many types of 22 long rifle that were meant for self-defense. There still really aren't that many right now, but right now there are at least a few manufacturers that make, shall we say, more reliable rimfires. Because that's one of the things. A rimfire is not as reliable, or at least not traditionally as reliable, as a center fire. A center fire with a firing pin strike versus a rim fire that has a rim strike to ignite the primer, it's just not as reliable. And I learned that at one point because I had some stingers in here. This was a long time ago. Stingers came in a little blue plastic box, the CCI Stingers, and a buddy of mine had some left over. He gave them to me. It was 7 rounds, which just basically filled up this magazine, and I kept them in the magazine probably for a year or so before I finally decided to try to shoot them off and load it with something else. And the first 2 were complete duds. So thank God I never needed this in a self-defense situation back then. But that is a lesson. Rim fires traditionally just aren't as reliable. Like I said, there are some manufacturers now make some more reliable ones. Back in the early to late 90s, that wasn't the case. But I'm glad he talked me into the 22, just because, although I am a fan of the 22 ACP, and it can be a very fun round to shoot. It's harder to find, it's more expensive, and 22 you can get pretty much anywhere. Now, when I purchased this pistol, I thought, well, it's not going to be very accurate, and I was wrong about that. It has these awful sights. Let's see if we can show them. A tiny little blade in front, this little notch in the back. It's that just, you can just barely line up the sights. Certainly not meant for precise shooting. That being said, I was relatively impressed at how well I could hit with this thing at short distances. Now, as far as function, works like a standard semi-automatic, mostly. A few differences are that it does have the magazine release down here, which really isn't a problem. You're not going to be doing some tactical reloads with a Beretta 21A Bobcat. Other than that, it does have the tip-up barrel, which exists on some other Beretta designs. This is great for topping it off, so you can load up your magazine, you know, put it in, and instead of having to rack the slide, you can just put a round in here and close it, and you're ready to go. These tend to be a little stiff. This one's been shot enough that, no, it's not really that stiff anymore. But let me tell you, it was quite stiff. And if you're selling this to somebody who may have weak hands, that makes it really easy to load and unload. Because the same thing, if you have a round in there and you pop this up, the round's going to go flying. It's happened to me many times. So it's very cool in that respect. Another interesting thing about the Bobcat is that it doesn't have an extractor. I'm not going to pull the full slide off here so you can see, but I mean, if you can kind of notice there is no extractor. Strangely enough, this design is supposed to, just the blowback ejects the round when it's cycling, and it ejects the round through the back. As far as safeties, it does have an external safety here. Well, for one thing, it has a half cock there that is supposed to be a safety, and it has the slide safety here, and that either locks the slide closed, it locks the hammer down, or you can do a cocked and locked as well, where you can have it like that and it disengages and stays locked. So it's, you know, it's got a good safety there. Not a whole lot to say about this pistol. I just wanted to take it out, put some rounds through it. It's a really fun one for somebody who wants a simple self-defense pocket pistol. These 21As are really, really great. And I mean, they're probably about the same price of what I paid back in 1994. So we're going to take this out to the range, put a few rounds through it, see how it hits at different distances. I've got some mini mags, which is I think usually what I've shot through this thing anyway. It tends to like that pretty well. Because it doesn't have that a typical extractor, it can be finicky as to what 22 it likes. So if you are going to use this pistol for self-defense, I definitely recommend you go and put a few rounds through it with different brands of ammo and see which one it likes the most. But anyway, as usual, enough of my yapping. Let's head out to the range and put some rounds through this pistol. And here we are at the range. We're going to take this little Beretta, load 5 rounds of this. This is CCI Mini Mag, the 40 grain version of the Mini Mags. We're going to put in 5 rounds, fire at a target. I guess we'll start at 5 yards, then we'll go to 10 yards, then 15, and see how well we can group with this little pistol. Here we are at about 5 yards. Got our 5 rounds in. Well, as you can see, at 5 yards, it's not a problem. Kept them all in a tight little group. I guess I was squeezing my hand as I was firing because I was pulling them down and to the left. But not bad, obviously. So let's step back and shoot at 10 yards. See how well we can hit. And here we are at 10 yards. 5 rounds. I'm going to shoot them a little bit slower this time, just to see if I can keep them all on target. And not bad, even at 10 yards. I mean, I had one that pulled down quite a bit, but 4 rounds in a pretty tight little group here. So I think we're kind of getting to the max effective range for this little pistol. But let's try 15 yards, see if I can still get them on the target. Now we are at a little over 15 yards, so 5 more rounds. This is where the sights of this pistol really start to become an issue. Let's see if we can keep them on target. That's 5. And here we are at our target. As you can see, I think we've hit the effective range, at least for me with this pistol. I'm sure other individuals might be able to hit well with it at further distances, but it was over 15 yards, but not much. It's 3 rounds here, 1 round here, and 1 off of paper. So I think for me, 5 to 10 yards seems to be the effective range for me using this Beretta 21A. Well, in conclusion, it looks like, at least for me specifically, this pistol, I'm able to hit with it relatively well between 5 and 10 yards and keep everything on target, at least, you know, within an 8-10 inch target, which for self-defense purposes is adequate. As I said in the beginning of this video, 22 long rifle was never really considered a good self-defense cartridge, mainly for the reliability issues concerning rim fire versus center fire. That being said, that seems to have changed here in the last few years with the production of new ammunition. And, you know, 22 is a great little pocket pistol. If you know somebody that needs something for self-defense but is uncomfortable carrying a larger firearm or something that may kick a lot more, a small 22 pistol may be the way to go. And these Beretta 21As really are just, not only are they beautiful, they're smooth shooting little pistols. Only real complaint, once again, is the sights. I mean, the sights are terrible, but for 5 to 10 yards, you're mostly going to be doing point shooting anyway. So thank you again for joining me for another video, and I hope to see you here soon in the next one.